Well, hello, my night owls. I was not expecting to go live tonight, but am I ever really expecting to do late night streams? Late night streams just happen. It's like 1 minute you're writing an article about how Candace Owens has gone fully and completely trans deranged. And by the way, Candace Owens blocked me on Twitter. I have no idea why Candace Owens blocked me. This is honestly, I am okay. Side note, I swear we're gonna get to the main show, okay? But I accidentally discovered earlier tonight that Candace Owens blocked me on Twitter, and I have no idea why. Because the thing is this, I never look at Candace Owens' stuff. I never interact with her. I've replied to her maybe 3 times in my entire life because I don't like her. And so, I mean, I don't know why I would really spend any time on her at all, but I did spend time on her tonight simply because I heard that Candace Owens said this crazy thing about trans people basically being pedophiles, and she's gone full fire and brimstone preacher. And so I had to see for myself what was going on, and I found myself blocked. I was like, what the hell happened? Was it all those times that I called Candace Owens a see you next Tuesday? I can't say the C word yet because we're not yet 8 minutes into the stream. I have to refrain from the super naughty swear words until we're at least 8 minutes into the stream. So Candace Owens blocked me, whatever. But that's not why I went live. I was writing an article about Candace Owens and I happened to need to go into my email for something. And it was one of those things where I needed to I have like 8,000 email addresses, like way more email addresses than any reasonable person should have, and I was looking for something specific. So I had to do a search in my inbox and all that stuff. And when I did the search in my inbox, I didn't actually find the thing I was looking for, but accidentally, and I don't even know why this happened. Another email popped up that I got like over a month ago that I don't ever recall seeing. And it was a long email, like really long email, but a really lovely email. It was from someone who has obviously been watching my streams for like a really long time, and they understood what I was doing. They understood what I was doing when I was talking about psychology. They understand what I'm doing when I'm teaching people in terms of trying to bring a beginner's mindset to it, but also then having to pull back and detach from it so I can hold multiple perspectives at once, so I can teach people the multiple perspectives. He talked about all the bullshit with Carrie and how he was really happy that I didn't quit when I really wanted to quit, and how much that like really hurt him to like watch me go through that, which I'm sorry I caused anyone pain. I didn't really think about it in that way, I suppose. Um, but he wrote about that a lot. And then like he wrote about a whole bunch of other stuff too, but then he did like 2 paragraphs on HG Tudor. And I haven't been listening to HG Tudor lately, to be honest. No shade on him, but it's just like I can only take so much narcissist, all right? And it's my month of narcissism, and I can't even speak. It's like 1:30, whatever. It's my month of narcissism, and I can only take so much narcissist at once, okay? And one of the things that I did learn from HG Tudor when I was reading his books is and I've read like maybe like 15 of his books at this point. And one of the things that I've learned is that, narcissists hate other people's birthdays because it means they're not the center of attention. And so for my birthday month, which is my month of narcissism, as you guys all know, I was like, I don't need any other narcissists in my life right now. I just don't. Mm-mm. Only one. Maybe I'll get back to him at some point, though. We are going to listen to him tonight, though. So Mama Tembo is asking who is HG Tudor. Well, HG Tudor is a narcissistic psychopath. He is a diagnosed narcissistic psychopath. He is completely self-aware of what he is. He is completely self-aware of why he does what he does. And he is probably one of the most fascinating people on this entire platform. I really do mean that. He is fascinating. because he does not give an F. And what he does is he teaches people about narcissism, and he teaches you all the ins and outs of like everything that you could possibly want to know about narcissism to help put whatever fresh hell you've experienced in your life in perspective. He will teach it to you. And he will do it in a way where he breaks it down and he explains it simply. And what I mean by simply is like in a way that anyone can understand it. And he does it with a deep, dark voice that is hypnotic to listen to. And it's some of the best material that I have. Forget narcissism. It is some of the best material that I've ever listened to or interacted with about human psychology in general. And it's really insightful about the narcissism bit. I mean, I had to study narcissists in the workplace because I studied workplace bullying for a long time, and I had to study narcissism in the workplace, so I kind of felt like I had an okay handle on what narcissistic personality disorder, like, actually is, but let me tell you what, this guy has brought my understanding of it to an entirely new level, and I started really digging into his material a little while back. We were actually talking about it quite a bit in the community at one point. A lot of people were reading him, and so I dug into his material a while back because I wanted to understand the difference between narcissistic personality disorder and the woke left. And for those who may be new to me, or maybe this is like the first time you've seen me, I wrote a book. I've been studying the woke left and have been embedding myself in the woke left ideology for like 3 years. I do it all day, every day. This is almost all I think about. It's a little unhinged and crazy. I understand that. I wrote a book called Actively Unwoke, the ultimate guide for fighting back against the woke insanity in your life. I teach people about the woke ideology every day. So I really have a vested interest in, I wanna make sure I'm doing this from a nuanced perspective, and I wanna make sure what I'm teaching people is accurate, and so I've really wanted to understand what is the difference between the woke ideology and narcissism, because I think that they do a lot of the same things, but I think that they do them for different reasons. Sometimes they do them for the same reason, and sometimes they do them for wildly different reasons. And so I started really digging into his work because it was really helping me to get, I mean, for lack of better, like into the minds of a narcissist. And I feel like I'm pretty well in the head of the woke left. I mean, you guys know when you watch me on the streams that we do, like on Happy Hour or Socialism Saturday, or anytime I'm doing a reaction to like a long form woke presentation, I know what they're going to say better than they know themselves. I can predict the words that are going to come out of their mouth. I can predict exactly what they're going to tell you at every juncture because I'm a little obsessed with this topic. And so I already felt like I had pretty much like an expert level understanding of the woke left. I did not realize how much I did not know about narcissism until I started listening to HG Tudor. And so I started really digging in and I wanted to know, how are they the same? How are they different? Where do they overlap? Where do they disagree? All that stuff. And so I mostly I listen to a lot of his videos about narcissism in general. Now, he also makes about, like, a metric F ton of videos about Meghan Markle, and I think he does that just because, like, it's what, like, keeps his channel running essentially, but his videos just about straight narcissism are so much better. And so I've interacted with a lot of his, content on YouTube. He also has a website where he writes articles about it, explaining different aspects, and he also has paywall content that I've spent a lot of money on HG Tudor's content, like, more than probably is reasonable. Don't tell my husband. He's sleeping right now. It's 1:30 in the morning like he should be. Don't tell him. Anyway, so one of the things I didn't do though, because he has like a ridiculous amount of content on his YouTube channel. I never actually searched through it looking for woke stuff. I was mostly just listening to the narcissist stuff, but I never was looking specifically for the woke stuff. And then a couple, like maybe about a month ago, here I'll show you his channel. Not that, that. Maybe about a month ago, he posted this video called Woke Censorship. And I ended up listening to it on a stream that I did, like a late night stream or something like that. And it wasn't bad. It was actually really kind of interesting. And so to round back to where I started 10 minutes ago with this story, I got this really lovely email from like a fan tonight, and guy talked about a lot of different stuff, but he talked specifically about how I got him into HG Tudor. And then he said, and Carlin, I don't know if you know this, but I searched his channel and he's got all these videos about woke stuff. And I was like, really? Does he really? Now, this doesn't really surprise me all that much, but I just had never thought to search specifically his content for woke. And so I saw that and I was like, you know what? I'm going to sit here and listen to it anyway. Why don't I listen to it with friends? Why don't I see who's up at 1:30 in the morning on a Thursday morning, and we can listen to this with friends, and we can talk about it, and we can see what we agree with and what we disagree with and all that good stuff. And so that's why I decided to go live tonight, and that is exactly what we're going to do. Now, late night streams do tend to meander around a little bit, so be prepared for some meandering, as it were. And we'll just chill out, guys. Put on some mood lighting, light some incense or some candles or whatever you got to do. And you know, you're young, John. You're at the age where you can pull all-nighters and you'll be totally fine. It'll be okay. I have a movie night tomorrow. I have Liberty Ladies women's only movie night tomorrow at Chunky's movie theater in Manchester. And we're watching some movie about no men allowed or something like that. I don't even remember the name of it, but there'll be drinks because it's one of those movie theaters where they serve you liquor as you're watching the movie, which is pretty great. Anyway, so there's a bunch of woke videos that he's got on his channel, but they aren't all recent. So he has, let me see. Oh gosh, a Meghan Markle woke video. Oh, Lisa, your ex-husband is a narcissist? I'm so sorry to hear that. Yeah. So in listening to HG Tudor's content, I definitely realized that I had been with at least like two, like I had at least two narcissists in my life that were significant people for me. And goddamn, if I couldn't kick myself for not seeing the pattern like 8 miles away, but it's so clear now that I understand it, So I hope his content has been helpful for you. Hey, Rachel, having a lovely night. Yes, this is a late stream. It's a late night stream. Sometimes we do this. All right, so there's a couple videos that jump out to me, and I kind of want to watch them in order of time of when he posted them. So the first one is this one. This is the one that the guy who emailed me told me about. It's called Woke, the Rise of Narcissism on the Left, and he posted that about a year ago. And then he's got this one, the hijacking narcissist from trans to patriot to woke. I thought that sounded pretty good. He posted that 12 days ago. And then he's got this one here. Oh, actually, I guess this one will be next. So we'll strike that, reverse it. Narcissism and the woke. We speak, we silence you. Huh. HG Tudor might have some woke game. Indeed. Sam R says, in Cape Town, HG has helped me get perspective through some crazy stuff of the last few years. You should check out the video, The Three Little Empaths. I think I've listened to that one. I think I have. Yeah, he's crazy good. And least anyone think he's like doing like a Dexter type thing. He's not. He doesn't care about helping anyone. He cares about like getting attention and building what his thing really is he's not like a narcissist with like a heart of gold or anything. He cares about building a legacy that's going to exist after he dies. So he's cheating death, essentially, is what he's doing. So let's just like I always tell people like when like because I've had so many people in my community get into him because like we were all talking about it at the same time, and I was like, you have to remember this is not a good person. you he is not your friend. He is a narcissistic psychopath. Let's just have some. I know he's got a good voice. I know, but he is not your friend, and you really need to keep that perspective. But he is fascinating and he is really smart. Anyway, so that's what we're going to do tonight, guys. Now, before we get started, I wanted to just show you a couple of things. So number one, can I just say, no offense to any conservatives who might be watching me right now, but conservatives, you really, 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 really do not understand satire. This is something I feel like the conservatives really need to just work on a little bit more. Conservatives do not understand satire at all. And I've known this for a long time, but I got reminded of it tonight. And the reason I got reminded of it tonight was because I created this. So you know how obviously there was a tragedy with that school shooting this week, and that's a really sad thing. But there was another thing that happened because of that school shooting is that there started to be a lot of publicity around this Trans Day of Vengeance protest that is supposed to happen in Washington, D.C. this weekend. Now, this protest was already scheduled like a while ago. And then it happened that a trans person shot up a school, which is tragic, and we should send love to all the victims and their families. A trans person shot up a school, and all of a sudden, conservatives were like, "There's a trans day of vengeance," and they thought the two were related, but they really weren't. Like one was already scheduled. And I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm not saying suggesting this event was good or anything. I'm just trying to explain. And then everyone started talking about it on Twitter, and then Twitter started banning everyone who was mentioning the Trans Day of Vengeance for inciting violence. And so I thought I would make a commemorative poster for the Trans Day of Vengeance, and I have renamed it the Trans Day of Peaceful Protest. And yes, it's planned on April Fool's Day. I've been hearing that this thing is actually a big joke and it's not real. But maybe it is, who knows? But I made a joke of it anyway cuz I made a poster. I made a poster to commemorate the Trans Day of Peaceful Protest because we all know if something happens, it is absolutely going to be a mostly peaceful protest. And I must have made it just a little too slick because this illustrated fire that I have in the background, I don't think conservatives understood that I was making a joke. I posted this on like my social media on like Twitter and Instagram and all that. And I know they're conservatives. Conservatives are like, "Are you on their side?" It won't be like they're taking this completely seriously, and it is not meant to be taken seriously. It is a satire poster satirizing the Trans Day of Vengeance Twitter ban because everyone got banned for posting an event that was inciting violence. No, my poster did not get banned on Twitter because my poster is about a Trans Day of Peaceful Protest. It's not about a day of vengeance, about a day of peaceful protest. Anyway, if you guys want to download your own copy of the poster and you can do whatever you want with it. I was thinking about making t-shirts, but then I was like, I'm not chancing this that I'm going to get like deplatformed or something with my merch store. Like my merch store is going really well. I don't want to F with it, but I'm actually really proud of this. I thought that this looked cool. Look at it. It's the building's on fire in the background, guys. It's a mostly peaceful protest, a Trans Day of Peaceful Protest. Anyway, I made that commemorative poster for my Unwoke art Substack. If you want to subscribe, I'm like this close to getting 100 subscribers on there, so that'd be pretty cool. I just launched it like a week ago, so that's pretty great. And then I wanted to show you guys this other AI art thing that I made in honor of Candace Owens losing her ever loving mind and preaching fire and brimstone in regards to trans people. And like, I'm not even lying about that. Candace Owens has gone full trans deranged. She's like throwing the Bible at them. She's telling them that God's going to smite them. Oh, smite the like mighty smiter sort of stuff. And so I had to do it, and I feel like it came out really well. I feel like Bot, I think, said that I had captured Candace's inner rage in this. So I was pretty happy with it, and I just wanted to share it. They take the bait, Jenny, every effing time. Every time, without fail. It is so hilarious. I'm like, if you did none of you ever watch Andy Kaufman? I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, that's what I wanted to lead in with tonight. Now let's turn our attention to the main event, the head narcissist in charge, the one we are going to turn all our attention to because as the head narcissist in charge, he damn well deserves all the attention. So we're all going to be studious and learn from HG Tudor, all right? Um so let's go down to this one. And this is the first woke video that my friend that emailed me told me about. And it's about a year old, and it is called Woke, the Rise of Narcissism on the Left, and doesn't really have much of a description. That's cool. And basically, I'm going to listen to it. I'm going to tell you what I think. Let me know what you think about his perspective in the chat. Again, we are listening to HG Tudor talk about the woke ideology, and I'm hoping that he's going to explicitly explain how he sees narcissists and the woke left either the same and or different, because that would really help me out. I would really appreciate that. And so let's listen, guys. Not that it matters. We can't see him or anything.
Woke. The rise of narcissism on the left. Narcissism. Narcissism has existed as long as Homo sapiens have hunter-gathered, and mainly gathered, their way across our planet. Its existence has only been identified and highlighted more recently, although there are many, many prominent historical examples, from Genghis Khan to Henry VIII, from the Roman Emperor Caligula.
Oh God, Caligula. So I wanted to pause real quick. John said he should voice horror novels. He actually has a YouTube channel where he reads books. It's called The Treasure Trove. So he actually does. I don't know if he's read a horror novel. He has actually. He's read. I've heard him read like kind of like Halloween poetry around Halloween. So that is on his channel if you want to listen to that. We're not going to do that tonight, though.
To Cleopatra, and from Idi Amin to Nicolae Ceausescu. Narcissism pervades the entirety of human behavioral structures. Approximately 1 in 6 of our kind are narcissists, and you will find us governing your country, inventing a cure for a disease, scoring goals for your favorite football team, entertaining you in concert, upstaging your wedding, stealing your ideas at work, bullying you and your colleagues, being petty over a neighbor boundary.
See, this is where I might, and I don't know what he's going to say yet, so I could be completely wrong about what I'm about to say. But here's where I might have a disagreement with him in that I really think that one of the cardinal features of the woke left is that they're fundamentally destroyers. They destroy everything they touch, and not even unintentionally. It's not like they're trying to build something up and they just screw it up because they're incompetent or inept or any of those things. Like it's intentional effing destruction. We've talked about this a million times. What are the 4 goals of the woke left? The 4 goals are gain as much power as possible, destabilize the system. That's about breaking things. Attack capitalism. That's sure as shit about breaking things. Usher in their Marxist utopia. Their entire ideology every single goal of their ideology is about destruction. And so one of the distinctions that I make in my book, Actively Unwoke, the ultimate guide for fighting back against the woke insanity in your life, is that I say that there are two types of people in the world. There are creators and there are destroyers. And creators, because they have some semblance of self-worth, they believe in themselves, they think they have good things to offer the world, they are inherently hinged into their own internal creativity. They look for internal validation rather than external validation. Creators give things of value to the world. They build businesses, they invent things, they help people, they serve people, whereas destroyers don't have that internal locus of control that creators do. They probably don't think very much of themselves. They underestimate what they're capable of. They probably haven't developed as much resiliency, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they look for validation outside of themselves rather than looking for it internally to themselves. And so because of that, like destroyers, when you have that more victim mentality, like woe is me, everyone is against me, all, yada yada yada, you're not going to build things of value for the world because you don't think on a not only on a conscious but also on a deeply subconscious level that you don't have anything of value to give. So why would you build a business if you don't believe you're capable of building a business? Why would you invent the cure for cancer if you don't think you're capable of doing that? You know what I'm saying? Like for us to create a reality, we have to first conceive that such a reality is possible. And so destroyers have a hard time even conceiving that they have the ability to do whatever they want to do, and that's why they look for everyone else to do for them, right? And so I have this theory, and people are a mix of like, it's not as though you're just all one or the other because human beings are complicated and all that. But generally speaking, I think that the woke left tends to veer more towards destroyers, which would not put them in a category of being able to rise to the level of CEO, of being able to become a world famous inventor or an author or, speaker or star or politician or any of these things. And I do agree with him that narcissists do all those things. I just think that I'm not sure that I believe fully that the average person that buys into the woke ideology would align with narcissism in that aspect of it. Let's see. Mama Tembo says, are narcissists typically destroyers or creators, or do they have an pretty even split? I think that they can be both depending on what type of narcissist they are. And there are absolutely narcissists that are creators. I mean, listen, man, like pretty much like I would probably argue the majority of politicians in Washington, they're narcissists. Come on. Like you're not going to run for office if you don't feel like you're worthy of getting people's votes. So, like, you have them, you've got like, big time actors, like you're not going to put yourself on video as a role if you have no self-worth, you know? And so I think that a lot of narcissists probably are creators because narcissists think they're the best at everything. They think they are the god. They think they are God's gift. I in one of HG Tudor's books, he says something like the question was, "Do you believe in God?" And he said, "Yes, because how else would someone as special as me be created?" Or something like that. I probably misquoted him slightly, but that was the basic gist. So he has a very high opinion of himself. And I don't think that the woke left generally do. Anyway, let's keep going.
Reporting you repeatedly to social services, bad-mouthing you to friends and family, and in thousands and thousands of different
I'm going to try, Joa.
places. We are in your workplace, in your family, living next door, hanging out in your social group, chatting you up in bars, smiling at you from thumbnails on dating apps, and lying next to you in your bed. Traditionally, narcissism has been viewed through a relatively narrow lens, and that the narcissist is the unfeeling alpha male, hell-bent on getting to the top, utterly self-obsessed, vain, deluded, fixated on getting his own way, a fantasist and liar who thinks everything does and everything should revolve around him. Detached from the majority perspective of reality, preoccupied with his needs, aggressive, domineering, and completely unpleasant. Such a narrow lens has invariably meant that narcissists are seen as more at home on the political right. The grabbing hands grab all they can, all for themselves. After all, everything counts.
No, I resoundingly would have said that narcissists are going to be much more comfortable on the political left than the political right. Because I'm sorry, conservatives are such pussies. They really are. Like again, no offense. I'm not talking about you as an individual if you're in the chat. I'm mostly talking about conservative politicians, if we're honest. So no one should be personally offended and like stomp out and clutch their pearls and all that. But like no, narcissists fit in significantly better on the left. Now, listen, there's authoritarianism on both the right and the left. Like, it's not exclusive to the left, but goddamn, is the left so much better at it? They're so much more self assured. I really think that conservatives are constantly looking for approval. I know he's getting to that. I know he's setting this up. So he's going to say you might think they're on the right, but really they're on the left for reason X, Y, B, and Z. I know we're not actually going to end up disagreeing. I'm just doing commentary, all right? And I've made shitting on conservatives into an art form, and I need to follow through on that brand promise. It's what you're here for. You know it. It's true. If you've listened to me for this long, you know what you're getting. Um, but no, I actually think what I was saying is I think that conservatives are desperate for approval. Conservatives would sell out every single thing that they claim to care about today if they were guaranteed that CNN would say something nice about them or Rachel Maddow would say something nice about them. They would give everything that they believe up in a heartbeat to get that validation. Oh, you finally understand us. You finally understand us. Thank you. Thank you. That's all we wanted for you. I swear to God, they are desperate for approval. Desperate. And so, like, the left has a much easier time of it because they do have the media approval. They don't have to beg for that type of validation. And I think the need for validation for both sides is there. I just think that the left inherently, because of how the system is structured, gets a whole lot more validation than the right does. Anyway.
In large amounts, as the uber-talented Martin Lee Gore once penned. The narcissist is selfish, uncaring, focused on an every man for himself
It's a great
approach.
point, Mama.
He has no time for helping others. He rules, and you are the ruled. It's about climbing the ladder, hauling people off and above you. You and the devil take the hindmost. If you fail, it's your fault, and you should not expect others to rescue you or bail you out. Stand on your own 2 feet, look to yourself, sort yourself out, pull your socks up, get stuck in, and succeed. Just do it. It's a dog-eat-dog world, and you are in the middle of it. And the narcissist has adapted to be the one that thrives with such an uncaring and unfeeling approach to life. This narrow view of narcissism creates the perception that the political right is the natural home of the narcissist.
No.
The individual is paramount. It is the place of dictators and demagogues.
Here's the other thing too. And I know he's setting up a point, and I know I'm probably going to make something different than the point that he's making. But conservatives don't even believe that. Conservatives don't believe in self-empowerment. Maybe they did when, well, this was a year ago, so no, they didn't then either, but, I mean, maybe they did at one time, but, like, what I see is just a victim mentality of, like, "Woe is us, everyone is against us, we might as well not even try, like, I don't even know why we're bothering, the election is rigged anyway, then why are we even voting," and blah, 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 blah. Like, I don't actually think they even believe in the self-empowerment stuff anymore. I really don't.
There is no time for equality, inclusivity, positive discrimination, or hugs.
Yes, I agree with
Don't
Amazon Eve on
save the
this.
unicorn, hunt it down and cut off its horn and sell it to the highest bidder so you can now afford that top-of-the-range sports car. Caring is sharing. You can fuck that shit sky high and take your simpering slogans and pansying platitudes and throw them on the furnace of
I actually found the political right to be much more inclined to share and be generous. If I'm honest, I'm gonna throw conservatives a bone. I've shit on you a lot already. We're only 40 minutes into this stream. I found the political right to be significantly more generous, generous with their time, generous with their money, generous with just like sharing things and helping people. Now that's not everyone. There are a lot of real assholes, but they're not conservatives. They're just pandering to like grift or whatever. But like real conservatives, they'll like take you in and feed you a meal and take you out and like and give you rides and stuff like when you're when you're out of town and so I've generally actually had a really good experience with the right on that one. And maybe it's because they do look for external validation, I don't know, but most of the time, apart from Twitter, they're pretty nice to me when I see them in person.
me first, you later. It is this typical view of the narcissist which sits more naturally with the ideologies and views of the right, because, well, the left's all about caring, isn't it?
No.
Narcissism is increasing. The world's population grows, and therefore it follows that the number of narcissists will grow numerically, even if the percentage stays the same. But moreover, the actual percentage is steadily increasing because human civilization is creating an environment which is more amenable and more conducive to the creation of narcissists. With this increase, this also allows the true width of different narcissists to become more evident. The wider classifications that I provide to you, from the wife beating, liquor sipping, no working, lower lesser, through to the cowardly, unobtrusive, office politicking, cowardly, middle mid-range type B.
Hang on. So Steve says, JP Sears says that since the left wants communism and Marxism, they've abandoned their religion and faith. They have no higher power. The individual is God. Well, I believe the individual is God. I believe we're all God. I believe we're all gods of our own experience. So I think it's a misnomer to say that if you believe the individual is God, that you don't believe in God or you've just like left it entirely. Now, there are certain brands of belief system, like Satanists, for example. Satanists believe, like the Church of Satan people, they believe that the individual is God, but they believe it in a different way than I do. I believe the individual is God because we all come from God. We all come from the same place. We all come from source, God, source, the one true energy. We all come from the same place. We all, like, every single one of us is just a little piece of God that has broken off from the main source to come and have a human experience. And we are creating that experience in real time. We are the gods of our own experience. So I think there are different perspectives on that. I wouldn't be so quick to say that the entire left is atheist or has like turned their back on God. A lot of them think they believe in God. Woo-woo communities are overrun with these people, which really sucks, but, like, they think that they believe in God, some of them, not all of them. I would agree that the hardcore Marxists don't believe in God. They're very, very atheist. I've never heard them talk about religion on Socialism Saturday. That might be interesting thing to, look into. Anyway.
Through to the domineering, yet charismatic, and ever so capable lower greater. All of the classifications from lower, lesser, all the way through to the ultra show the various shades, colors, characteristics, and behaviors of differing narcissists, but they remain narcissists, all the same. Within these differing schools of narcissist, they are, of course, still narcissists. And the rise of narcissism in an area where many would not believe that narcissism would sit. Of course, the hard left, the likes of Stalin, Erich Honecker, Chairman Mao, are clear
Marx.
demonstrations of narcissists amongst the left. But narcissism is rising amongst the left more generally in a way which is not being recognized.
Oh, I think we
The
recognize it.
advent of the cult of the woke, the prevalence of cancel culture, the insistence on a rigid adherence to an alternative way of viewing the world, the revision of history, the inability to debate and listen, the holier-than-thou approach. My stance is about equality inclusively, and therefore that must mean that I am good, and therefore if you disagree with me, you can only be bad. The knee-jerk labelling of anybody who disagrees as racist, sexist, transphobic, disablest, and so forth. The failure to reflect on their own behaviours and what those exhibit because of this slavish devotion to a belief that because they care, that they have compassion,
They don't
that they
care.
are honest and they are decent, that they are doing the right thing, and therefore the left must be right. It is insidious, pervasive, and has been worming its way into every facet of society. There are many, many empathic, truly empathic individuals in the world who go about exhibiting their care, their compassion, their honesty, their desire to heal and fix, and their decency through actions, quietly, unobtrusively, without fanfare or recognition, without telling others how they should live their lives. They are found throughout the political spectrum. Then there are many who believe that they are empathic, but they are not. Trapped within their own delusion, these false empaths who
Hang on.
operate.
I want to clarify for regular listeners on my channel. He and I have different definitions of the term empath. Okay? When he says empath, he means someone. I'm probably gonna totally flub this up. I haven't thought about it in a while. For those who watch HG Tudor, like, that are listening, let me know if I have this correct. When he says empath, he means someone that is genuinely caring and that has a genuine, like, and maybe even higher level, like, understanding of, like, human emotion, and they believe in truth and justice and right and all of these things, and they can be narcissists too. Like, they have narcissistic traits that are balanced out by their more empathetic traits. When I say empath, and when I say I'm an empath, I'm what he would call the psychic empath. When I say I'm an empath, I mean that I have a really easy time of tuning in to the emotional undercurrents of any given situation, and that I will literally feel the things that the people that I'm focusing on are feeling. And yes, Sam, correct. Like, he does have different categories of empaths, just like he has different categories of narcissists. So that's what I mean. He doesn't believe in that, which is fine. You don't have to. He focuses on a more logical view of the world, and that does not include literally being able to pick up on human emotions. But I know I do, because I've been this way for 40 years now. So I just wanted to explain the difference. And yes, there are absolutely a lot of narcissists who very, very falsely claim to be empaths. And I'm going to say this, man, like, from my perspective, like, being an empath isn't like, I didn't even realize there was something different about me. Like, and there are a lot of people that are empaths in the world. But like, I didn't realize that other people didn't experience the world like I do. For a really long time, probably for like the first 30 years of my life, I had no idea why I perceive things to be so differently, and then someone explained it to me, and I was like, "Oh, okay, that actually makes a lot of sense." And then I And then I started working on developing my intuition, and I started being able to control it a little bit more. Um, and it became more apparent what it was. Anyway.
In a bubble of self-righteousness, claiming freedom of speech, unless, of course, you disagree with me, and then you must be silenced, you must be shut down, you must be cancelled. There operate the narcissists, hijacking wokeism for their own ends, naturally,
Oh, that's interesting.
unaware that it is the pursuit of the prize.
He thinks that the narcissists are hijacking wokeism. That hadn't occurred to me, but that's interesting. That's really cool, actually.
Aims of fuel, of
Well, cool from,
control,
like, an
of
interesting
character
perspective.
traits, and residual benefits. Many obvious examples of narcissism can be seen in the political right, but now
Like
it
who?
is to look
Trump.
within the left
Fucking
and to
Trump.
identify and demonstrate to you the various behaviors, the insidious actions, the characteristics, the movements, all of those things which demonstrate the presence of narcissists, and to enable you to understand the rise of narcissism in the left. So join me,
Oh,
HG
I fucking
Tudor,
hate it when he does
for
this.
further material that charts the rise of narcissism in the left, explains it,
So
identifies.
this is something that he was clearly interested in at some point. That's interesting. He does this with these videos sometimes where he basically does a cursory overview of a topic, but doesn't really talk about it in depth. And I always hate it when he effing does that because I'm ready for it. Like I wanna learn more and he's not giving it to me, which is a control thing for him, I'm betting. Because I think he likes stringing his audience along. Anyway, but so he was obviously really interested in covering this at some point, and then it looks like he didn't cover it as much as maybe he intended to. Just scrolling down to see if there's anything that I may have missed. Oh god, how to mirror narcissists? That's a horrible idea. That is a horrible idea. Anyway, there were a couple videos up here that are newer videos. So let's look at let's do this one first. Narcissism and the woke. We speak, we silence you. And guys, just I listened to this one on woke censorship in a previous stream, and that's why I'm not listening to that one because I've already heard it and it's 20 minutes long. All right, let's listen.
Narcissism and the woke. We speak,
I
we
love that he
silence
has
you.
that meme. I love it.
I've explained before that narcissism can be found in various walks of life, but there are certain particular areas where there are concentrations of narcissists because those environments provide a greater range of victims to allow them to be controlled, more fuel, more character traits, and better residual benefits. These are the hunting grounds. Narcissists, of course, can be found in all places on the political spectrum. But as I've explained before, invariably, you'll be able to identify the behavior of likely narcissists amongst what is known as sort of the woke by virtue of the fact that they often adhere to this principle. I'm all for inclusivity. I'm all about freedom of expression, so long as it's my freedom of expression. I am allowed to say what I want. But if you say something that criticizes me, I'm entitled to shut you down. Freedom of speech, freedom of expression doesn't apply to you. I invalidate you. I cancel you. Such an attitude, of course, is indicative, although not determinative, that you're likely to be dealing with a narcissist. First, there is the sense of entitlement. I'm allowed to say what I want, whenever I want, howsoever I choose,
Well,
aggressively, rudely,
see, some of the things sometimes I think his characteristics can be broadly applicable to like everyone. So I can say that I can look at conservative people on the right, and I wouldn't say that they're woke. I would say that they're whiny pains in the asses, but I wouldn't say that they're woke. And they do exactly the same thing. They're like, I demand to have my way, and I'm going to say what I want, and F you if you don't like it, and and I'm going to cancel you, because conservatives absolutely do cancel people in exactly the same way that the woke left does. So I think what he's saying now can actually apply to both sides. I think one just whines more than the other. And I'll leave you guys to figure out which one that is.
Interrupting you. I'm allowed. There's an absence of emotional empathy. I'm going to talk and you have to listen to me. I'm not going to allow you to speak. That shows no emotional empathy for the people affected.
Do you know how many people on the right have complained to me over the fact that I blocked them on Twitter? And they demanded that, like, I had to listen to anything that they had to say, otherwise I was violating their freedom of speech. Anyway, when he said, like, "You have to I get to talk and you have to listen to me," the first thing that popped into my head is, I blocked someone on Instagram yesterday, and he instantly came over to Twitter to complain about the fact that I blocked him on Instagram, and I was like, "Bro, if anyone deserves to be blocked, like, for sure, it's someone that will literally leave one platform to come to another platform to complain about how I blocked you on the previous platform." Like, absolute thank you for confirming that decision. And, but that was what came into my head was like, all these people who I block who then complain ad nauseum, sometimes for years on end about how I blocked them. Ian Miles Chong is still complaining about the fact that I blocked him 2 years ago. He really does. He was complaining about it last week. I'm like, "You can say whatever you wanna say. I don't have to listen to you. Deuces."
By the diatribe that is issued by this individual, and nor does it show any emotional empathy for the individual by shutting them up. It shows a lack of accountability for the behavior.
Oh god, I
I'm
blocked
allowed
Carrie
to
2
talk,
and a
but
half
you're
years ago,
not.
3 years
Do I
ago
see
maybe,
anything
I don't
wrong
even
with
know.
that? No,
A
I'm
long
allowed
time
to
ago.
do this. There's haughtiness. The individual is dismissive. They're arrogant. They show grandiosity with the monologues that they engage in, the way that they prejudge situations, the high-handedness
Both
by
sides
which
do
they
that.
assume moral authority with regard to their arguments and views, and that everybody else must be wrong.
Both sides do that.
It demonstrates a manipulation, the talking over of people, the cancelling of them, the silencing of them. It shows poor boundary recognition. I can talk when I want, and it doesn't matter if I interrupt you. It doesn't matter if I talk over you. It shows various dynamics of the narcissistic interaction. I can talk, you're not allowed to. I'm in charge, you're the done to. I'm special, I'm important, I'm self-absorbed. I assert control over you by talking over you. I nullify your threat to control by interrupting you and trying to silence you. You will see this behavior repeatedly amongst those who are labeled as woke, because what they do, unlike your right-wing narcissists, who essentially state, you are not allowed to speak because this behavior is deemed dangerous, and it is for the greater good of
Left
the
does that
nation state
too.
that such subversive views must be stamped out because they don't accord with the party line.
Well, he is right that the woke fucking hell, he identified that woke exists on the right. Oh god, HG Tudor's got some game. There are not many people. I mean, I think it's starting to be more so, but like there really aren't many people who understand that woke absolutely exists on the right. It takes a different form than it does on the left, but it absolutely exists on the political right. And so like I identified that 2 years ago and I remember screaming to high heaven about it. And I'm sure there were people who identified it before me, but I really felt like I was screaming into the void. I was like, they're woke too. They're woke too. They're starting to act woke too. They're doing this stuff too. You can make the argument that it started with the Dixie Chicks back in the day, that conservatives started cancel culture, that sort of thing. But I do think, and this might be a reflection of the fact that he's not in the United States. He is in the United Kingdom. And so I think he's like up near Scotland or something like that. He's like I don't know exactly where he is, but he's not here is the thing. And so the reason I say that is that he might have a different idea of what conservatism means than what we think it means, because we have different frames of reference for conservatism.
It is more obvious the totalitarianism that it is engaged in. Whereas on the left-leaning side of matters, amongst the woke, it is almost done from a sense of goodness. On the right, it's a sense of we are correct to do this because it is appropriate to do this.
I would agree with
This
that.
is what is done in order to get to the point of protecting this country, that we must not allow such dissension and such seditious observations to be made. It isn't done under a cloak of goodness, it's done under the auspices of necessity. But
well, it's being done with the righteousness of religion now. We got Candace Owens was literally screaming fire and brimstone. Like, I could not even believe it. Okay, maybe she wasn't literally doing that if we're using the word literally. I'm using it more figuratively, whatever. But no, I think that I do think that he has a point about the right, but I also think that it has morphed lately into some moral majority, religious revival, like, you know, God-fearing fire and brimstone, etc., etc., etc. But that's a more kind of like recent thing.
on the left, amongst the woke, similar behaviors are dressed up with some kind of bizarre moral authority. That they are done that I am a good person and I am acting on the side of good by interrupting you because you're evil. I'm shouting you down because your views are unethical and evil.
Words are
I
violent.
am not allowing you to speak because I am on the side of righteousness and goodness. And I'm allowed to say
it's not even just that you're evil, it's that they consider words to be violence. They consider ideas they don't like to be violence. They consider them to be not just emotionally damaged or dangerous, excuse me, not just emotionally dangerous, but also in terms of like leading to people thinking bad thoughts. But they consider them to be the same or on the equivalent level as actual physical violence.
what I want to say, but you have to shut up and listen. In fact, you have to shut up and be repeatedly silenced. You will have seen this repeatedly on social media, in mainstream media, in interactions that have taken place. And we have another example of it that has been reported by the Mail Online by Jen Smith, where she explains a mob of the best and brightest shouting down a federal judge. Trump judge, who was heckled by woke Stanford law students and staff, says none are fit to be lawyers. Not only is the behavior of the individuals shouting him down questionable, but it is the ringleader that comes under special scrutiny in this article. The Trump-appointed judge, who was heckled by law students at Stanford and the school's dean of inclusivity, has spoken out to slam their ultra-woke stunt and attack on his free speech, saying none of them are fit to work in America's legal system. Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals Judge Kyle Duncan had been invited to speak about COVID, guns, and Twitter, interesting topics, and Stanford Law's Federalist Society last week. When he got there, he was interrupted and mercilessly mocked by a group of liberal students. Now, of course, they are allowed to express their views if they wish, and if they want to interrupt somebody and mock them, they can do so. Yet, of course, such behavior is lacking politeness. It shows entitlement. It shows poor behavior. It demonstrates an absence of emotional empathy. It shows a lack of accountability for the behaviors. It shows haughtiness. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that those students are all narcissists. Some of them may well be. Normal people can behave this way because they disagree with the views of Kyle Duncan, which means they don't really know him, and it reduces their emotional empathy for him. Furthermore, of course, people can behave in a strange way when there's a herd mentality. They would never speak up or say boo to a goose, singularly, but once they're in a group, that mob mentality takes over, and they feel emboldened, and perhaps encouraged by a narcissist ringleader, they then engage in similar behaviors, which would make them look like narcissists, even though they are not.
I agree.
The article explains that they were egged on by the school's Dean of Equity, Tyrion Steinbach, who took to the lectern in an effort to humiliate Duncan.
No, that's not his name. I never looked into this Stanford story. Tyrion Steinbach was the dean's name. The Dean of Equity is named Tyrion Steinbach. Maybe it's because it's 2:15 in the morning, but that name strikes me as just hilarious on like several different levels. One of the people that's in the writers group in my community needs to write in a character into one of their books named Tyrion Steinbeck. That's like one of the best villain names that I've ever heard in my life. And he's the Dean of Equity at Stanford. You learn something new every day.
A conservative judge whose opinions on same-sex marriage, trans rights, and reproductive rights have stoked controversy in the past. So we have this Dean of Equity,
Tyrion Steinbach,
whatever that is, coming along, and an invited speaker is not only heckled and interrupted by people there, but somebody holds a position within the school, a position of authority and responsibility, shows a disgrace to that position by trying to humiliate a speaker. That is asserting control over that individual, showing haughty behaviors, a lack of emotional empathy for that individual, a sense of entitlement to behave in that manner, a lack of accountability for the behaviors. It's a rudimentary way of trying to shut somebody up.
Oh, it's a woman. It is a woman.
Stanford apologized for her behavior.
Hang on. Jenny says, I thought the dean was a woman. It is a woman. It's a black woman. See, I was thinking like Tyrion Steinbach as in like Tyrion Lannister. Still a good name though. You can make a character a man. Listen, these people don't really want gender to exist. So I don't think there's anything wrong with taking the ridiculously movie villain name of Tyrion Steinbach, a Dean of Equity at Stanford, and appropriating that culturally, as it were, to renaming a male villain because, listen, you don't want to exist in the gender binary. You want to blow the binary out. You want to liberate yourself from the gender binary. We want to abolish the gender binary. We always know the socialists want to get rid of gender entirely. That's why they want everyone to be theys. That's why they're pushing this non-binary bullshit. They want a world full of theys and pronouns. So who cares? The name is awesome. Take the name. Make it a man, though. It definitely needs to be a man. That has, like, dick energy.
But she hasn't been disciplined in any other way. And the school is now even advising the students who were impacted to seek support from her. In an interview with Rod Dreher that he published on Substack, Judge Duncan said the entire debacle was an embarrassment that made him fear for the country's future. This is one of the best law schools in the world. The students are the cream of the crop, the future judges, senators, presidents, leaders of industry. And yet here is a mob of the best and brightest shouting down a federal judge who's been invited to campus, and thereby demonstrating that they don't have the foggiest grasp of the basic concept of legal discourse. You have to meet reason with reason. Instead, their operating principle is, if I don't like what you say or think, I will silence you. That, of course, as I've explained, is very much the mentality of those amongst the woke. Unless those students undergo a radical change in their whole approach to argument and disagreement, they are unfit to be members of any bar. He said he sympathized with the other students who had gathered to hear him speak, but who missed out on the chance. The attack was intimately personal and frankly disgusting. If I talked to a dog the way those students talked to me, I'd feel ashamed. This demonstrates that insult was also used in the assertion of control over him. He added that the entire sorry episode was like the therapy session from hell. Acting Associate Dean of Students, Jean Miro, said in an email that is now circulating on Twitter, "There is much to process about Thursday's event and its aftermath, but the focus of this email is to provide you with resources that you can use right now to support your safety and mental health."
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Once again, this strikes me as a rather namby-pamby, ridiculous response to this behavior.
Yes.
Rather than hauling the offenders in front of some kind of disciplinary committee and explain to them that your behavior is wrong, unacceptable, and you are to be punished, it's rather, we're now going to give you the resources to support your safety and mental health. I'm so sorry that you are having to deal with this difficulty at all. Please reach out to any of us here at SLS if you would like support or if you would like to process last week's events. She then listed Steinbach and her email address. Students writing for student newspaper The Stanford Review are calling for her to be fired, as is Judge Duncan, who said Steinbach and the others treated the other kids in the room who had gathered to hear him speak like dog shit. Don't feel sorry for me, he said. I'm a life-tenured federal judge. What outrages me is that these kids are being treated like dog shit by fellow students and administrators, he told Free Beacon. In their article for the Stanford Review, 3 students said it is unclear what Stanford plans to do to prevent such disruption in the future. Firing Dean Steinbach is a good start. The university's apology will be completely meaningless unless concrete actions are taken to rid the administration of anti-speech zealots.
That will never happen.
In her attempted takedown of the judge, Steinbach moaned, "It's uncomfortable to say this to you as a person. It's uncomfortable to say that for many people here, your work has caused harm. And I know that must be uncomfortable to hear. It must be. I'm also uncomfortable because many of the people in the room here I've come to care for." Once again, the false compassion of a likely narcissist, and then the denigration of an individual who's been invited to speak by not allowing him to speak. It was explained that she didn't actually specify what exactly she was upset with about him, which of course demonstrates, once again, the vagueness that many narcissists use. I'm simply offended by your presence, but I'm not going to explain to you what it is, because her narcissism doesn't allow her to do so. But it appears that Duncan is viewed as a villain by the LGBTQ community, and therefore, rather than actually listen to what he's got to say, the simple fact of his presence means, I'm going to attack you anyway, because your presence offends my need for control. This responsive behavior is indicative of many aspects of the narcissistic dynamic, of manipulations, a sense of entitlement, and absence of accountability, and is demonstrative once again of showing you how certain individuals who are narcissists use the cloak of supposed respectability, compassion, and caring in their position here as Dean of Inclusivity to actually behave in a manner which is completely contrary to the position that they hold out towards others. I'm HG Tudor.
Because what they mean when they say inclusivity is not inclusivity for everyone, it's inclusivity for people who ascribe to critical consciousness. I really do like the definitions that James Lindsay has been giving about that. I think that that was a really smart thing for him to do. For people who don't know, that definition came from James Lindsay. That was not mine. He says that, and he's got a couple of them. I'm not going to remember them off the top of my head, but in regards to inclusivity, why you might have a dean of equity and inclusivity named Tyrion Steinbach, the greatest movie villain name of all time. And it's a black woman that, probably is, on par with some of the greatest movie villains of all time. And why that would be a position that you would have with inclusivity in the title, it's because they don't mean inclusivity for everyone. They mean inclusivity for people who agree with and ascribe to critical consciousness. All right, so that was our second video from HG Tudor. I thought he said some really interesting things with that one. I more or less agreed with it. I think that the thing that I found most interesting so far is this idea that narcissists have latched on to the woke movement, because I just hadn't thought about that like that. It's kind of like the white identitarians latched on to the anti-CRT movement. Not that the white identitarians cared really about critical race theory or any of this stuff, but they were like, "Oh, this is a fertile hunting ground for us to recruit new people," as in these anti-CRT groups, and so they latched onto it from that perspective. And I thought that that was a really good insight. All right, let's listen to the last one that he put up recently. And I don't want to listen to Meghan Markle ones. This one, the hijacking narcissist, from trans to patriot to woke.
The hijacking narcissist
That's a
from
great
transed, patriot to woke. Hello, I'm HG Tudor. No, this isn't about narcissists that take over aeroplanes. It's about the way that the narcissist hijacks and commandeers certain causes. You ought
Oh,
to know
good, this is
by
about
now
that. Good.
that a narcissist, when it involves another person or the contemplation of involving another person, is governed by the necessity of at least one thing and usually four things: to control that person. And that can be done either directly, indirectly, through withdrawal, both passive and active. To draw fuel from that person, fuel being the lifeblood of the narcissist. To obtain character traits from that individual. If you want to understand more about that, watch my video, Character Trait Acquisition. And finally, to get residual benefits: money, the pleasure of sex, access to networks, a lift into town, whatever it might be. In order to compel the narcissist to achieve those prime aims, the narcissism must make the narcissist form certain beliefs in order to do so. You, for example, will experience a dry throat. It's uncomfortable, and you understand that means that you're thirsty. Therefore, your body is utilizing a self-defense mechanism to stop you becoming severely dehydrated, thus risking injury and death, by making you feel uncomfortable and allowing you to understand what that means, so that you then seek out hydration. It's like a light coming up on the dashboard of your car. Similarly, the narcissism will cause the narcissist to feel a particular way and think a particular way, so it causes the narcissist to pursue the prime aims. So, for example, it will ignite the fury of the narcissist and cause him to believe that this particular person has transgressed against them, so they deserve a good shoeing. Thus, the narcissist is motivated to visit physical violence upon that person for the purpose of assertion of control and drawing fuel. In another instance, it causes the narcissist to feel horny, so that they want to have sex with that person, thus asserting control over them by using sex, drawing fuel from their responses, and experiencing the residual benefit of the pleasure of having an orgasm. But what also happens with the narcissist is that the narcissist is apt to hijack certain causes. There are lots of different beliefs, stances, causes, agendas that exist in this world.
I thought it said genders instead of
It
agendas.
involves people standing up for their rights in certain ways. For instance, standing up for their right to not be prejudiced because they have a different sexual preference. Standing up not to be prejudiced because they identify as non-binary, for example. There may be individuals who want to stand up to protect the environment. They don't want a copse of trees to be demolished as a consequence of a new road development. They want to prevent the closure of a school because they believe that that is against the interests of the children. There's lots of causes and activism that exists across a wide range of subjects. Within those groups that protest, write letters, go on marches, engage in activism, they're drawn from a wide range of people. There are empathic people who care about these issues, and they go about
I'm
doing
starting to
so
doubt
in a
that more and
manner
more, to
whereby,
be honest.
unless an extremist is a consequence of an application of an external stressor,
So I'm really starting to doubt the idea that there's anyone that cares about any causes. Okay, maybe onesies and twosies here and there, but I really do think that most people go to these protests to have like some sort of social connection with people or to do like an activity as part of a group or something like that. And again, maybe they do care on some level, but there's also so many activities that they can do if they really care about those causes that that they just refuse to do. And so I think like it's really easy to get someone to go to an event when, their friends are going to be around and maybe you're going to go get pizza and beer afterwards or something like that, or it's going to be fun, or you're going to try to be a little disruptive like when we went in and I yelled at Tulsi Gabbard that one time. Like, it's easy to get people to go to those things. It's a lot harder to get people to show up at things like, like a school board meeting that you have to sit through, or to like Socialism Saturday where we watch like the socialist stuff and stuff like that. Because it's a little bit more boring. It's not as exciting. You're not going to get pizza and beer with your friends afterwards. So I think that it's not to say they don't care, but maybe caring about something isn't the primary reason that they're going.
They still exhibit emotional empathy. Therefore, they will protest, but within the law. They will write letters stating their case in a reasonable way and not resorting to ad hominem insults. They will go on a discussion panel to talk about the instances and what they're campaigning for, and do so in a coherent manner without trying to score points in a low-handed and ad hominem attack way. Normal people will behave in a similar way. But what we often find, of course, within these particular groupings are a certain very vocal minority
Not
that
minority.
get particularly agitated, are particularly vociferous in what they have to say. These individuals may often advocate a form of direct action, the destruction of property, physical assaults, resisting the
Oh, he's
police,
talking about, like, true believers.
engaging in
Okay.
campaigns of harassment in order to bring about change. Now, there are instances, of course, that non-narcissists could engage in similar behavior because they've suffered an external stressor. So, for example, you could have
So he's suggesting, I think, that the true believers of the woke ideology are, like, narcissists, which I think is a pretty valid perspective. True believers do tend to be a much smaller percentage of the group, right around 12%, which actually that would actually wouldn't it, hang on. Hang on, I need to do math, and it's 2:30 in the morning, and I'm not equipped to do math off the top of my head, so give me 1 second. Times Okay, so maybe it's a little bit less. So typically they estimate that like true believers are tend to be around like 12% of like the population. And so that's a little bit less. He says that like 1 in 6 people are narcissists. So it's a little less than that, but I think it's still pretty in line with that, right?
somebody whose child has been killed as a consequence of the behavior of a paedophile, and they campaign against that, and they go so far as to join a mob which marches upon a paedophile, suspected paedophile's house, causing damage to it, and perhaps lynching that individual. But more usually, empathic and normal people act within the confines of their emotional empathy first. And what you find is that their causes become hijacked by certain individuals who are agitators, troublemakers, and are particularly vocal. In a way, they give their cause a bad name. Who are these individuals? Well, of course, they come from the narcissists. The narcissist believes, where they're an unaware one, that they fully support this cause, but actually they don't. What happens is their narcissism recognizes that this is a very useful way of being able to assert control over people, draw fuel from them, get character traits and residual benefits. So it compels the narcissist to believe they have a full-blooded support
Thank you, Nick.
for the relevant cause, and that their activity, often unpleasant, sometimes unlawful, is entirely justified. So there will be individuals, for example, who do not feel comfortable being, for example, identified as male, and they believe that they are female, that they feel that they are trapped in the wrong body, and they want to make changes and be identified as not being male, but being female. And they do so, going about this in a quiet manner, wanting to ensure that people understand their position and their point of view, but they do so in a compassionate and fair manner. They don't go around attacking people. They don't go around saying, "You're prejudicing my rights," just when somebody has made an honest mistake of addressing them by a name that's not their preferred pronoun. What you invariably see amongst the more volatile and agitating aspects of, for instance, the trans movement, are individuals who are narcissists, whereby their narcissism has chosen to suggest, "I now identify as female and you're not allowed to tell me to the contrary, even though I stand here as essentially a bloke with a beard and a dress, I'm now trans. And if you say anything against me, you're a hater and transphobic, and I will shut you down. I will encourage other people to cancel you. I will picket your household. I will engage in violence towards your family members. I will smash your windows, etc. Those agitators are invariably narcissists who truly, genuinely don't give two hoots about the cause that they're involved with, but simply their narcissism identifies it as a useful vehicle. Those individuals that claim that they're patriots, that they support their nation, and that they stand there proudly waving their flag, but they engage in exhibiting hatred towards other people, attacking them, smashing up their properties, labeling them. Again, those behaviors are driven by a lack of emotional.
What group is he talking about? What group are patriots that are smashing up people's property? I'm honestly asking, I don't know. I wouldn't ascribe that to Trump people. I don't know.
Empathy, and is invariably occasioned
Antifa
by
aren't
a
patriots.
narcissist hijacking that patriotic cause for the purposes of the assertion of control and the drawing of fuel. I've explained in many instances the woke behavior that is exhibited, the social justice warrior. They aren't actually those things. There are many people that support a liberal attitude, a tolerant attitude, and do so in a constructive way. They don't have to shout and scream at people when they're giving a lecture trying to close them down. They don't prescribe a certain set of behaviors and say that if you don't follow them, then you're a hater. They put their view across calmly, sensibly, listening to others. But invariably, these moderate and sensible individuals are drowned out because there is this almost lunatic fringe that's vociferous, hateful, driven to make a lot of noise, to cancel people. Again, you will find the narcissists amongst this grouping. What is important to understand? That the narcissist, being a chameleon and lacking emotional empathy, neither cares for the
Picking up
cause nor
character
for the
traits.
people that their
Okay, I
behavior
understand now.
affects.
I do.
Their narcissism makes them believe that they are committed to the cause, but all they're doing is hijacking that cause as a means to get to a particular outcome vis-a-vis the prime aims. So whether it's claiming to be trans, claiming to be a patriot, claiming to be a liberally minded, tolerant individual, whether it's claiming to be a supporter of a particular football club, whether it's standing up for the rights of mushrooms in a field, whatever it might
That
be,
might be what he's
certain
talking about.
narcissists come along and hijack that cause, and they don't care about it all.
Thank you, John.
Because their behavior demonstrates that they don't. Instead, what we witness is the hijacking of the cause for the pursuit of the prime aims. And these are the individuals which cause so much trouble within these organizations that often actually send the cause backwards as a consequence of the way that they conduct themselves. In essence, the narcissism sits there and thinks, join BLM, join.
He thinks that the narcissists among the woke set the cause back because of the manner in which they conduct themselves. That's probably the only thing that I've heard tonight that I really resoundingly disagree with, and I don't understand how he can have that perspective. Maybe he's gonna say more. There's still what, like a minute left of the video, so maybe he's gonna say something else. But I really disagree with him on that. I think that the woke left, the true believers among them, are so loud and so ridiculous, and they drown out everything around them, that they suck the air out of the room for every other perspective, to include any perspective that might question them. They are continuing to get more and more and more and more and more powerful, precisely because they don't shut the fuck up. Because that's how you gain power. You express your views very loudly over and over and over and over and over again. So I'm gonna have to disagree with him on that.
Socialist worker Join that organization because it's going to serve our purposes. And you can do so without accountability, with a sense of entitlement, without exhibiting emotional empathy, without following the rules, by kicking up a stink, by causing trouble, by destroying property, by attacking people, by stealing money, by rioting, whatever it might be. Because at the end of the day, the pursuit of the prime aims is what it is all about. The relevant cause is just a means of getting there. So often, when you see the behavior of certain radical individuals within activism, you may actually be witnessing a narcissist at work who simply doesn't care about the cause, but they're just motivated, subconsciously, of course, by what's in it for them.
It doesn't
This
matter
will
though,
help you understand so
that
much
doesn't
more
change the point
of
I
these
made.
behaviors of these individuals and why my work is so important in that regard.
All right, that's the last video we have. Sam was saying they don't do it for the cause, though. Well, I think we already established that, and I agree with him on that. They absolutely do not do it for the cause, but I don't think any of them do it for the cause. I think they do it for social cohesion and like a friend group, basically, for most of them. Maybe they believe in it, but like they want other things more. But the point I was making is that he said something to the effect of they make themselves look bad when they act so ridiculously. And I'm like, maybe they do, but they're still winning. But I will say that Jenny says I took it to mean they pushed the group too far so that they are wanting what they are wanting. I'm sorry guys, I'm starting to get really tired. So what they are wanting ends up not helping the issue they claim to want. Well, that's always been true. That's not new. They do that. I mean, again, Jenny, what are the 4 goals of the woke left? Gain as much power as possible, destabilize the system, attack capitalism, usher in their Marxist utopia. They don't care about the things they say they care about. They only and forever want to achieve those 4 goals, one and or more of those goals. Gain as much power as possible, destabilize the system, attack capitalism, usher in a Marxist utopia. That's it. That's all they care about. It does not matter what they claim to care about. They don't give two shits about those things. Most of the things that they do are to gain as much power as possible so they can destabilize society. They're almost always working on those 2 goals. So he'll get there. I hope he does more woke content. I really do. I hope he does more of it. I hope he does more analysis on it. I know it probably won't get as many views as his Meghan Markle content. But God, I don't know how that guy talks about Meghan Markle so much. Anyway, I thought that was really interesting. I thought the last one in particular about the narcissist hijacking the movement was extremely insightful because that is something I had not thought about before at all. Now, of course, I knew that there were real narcissists in it and there were like a lot of like useful idiots. I had more or less come around to the idea that the real narcissists were mostly the true believers and the useful idiots were mostly not. More or less I was there. And I think that he would agree with that if as long as we both agreed on the language and the definitions and that sort of thing. Um but I had not thought about the idea of them hijacking it in order to, control people, gain residual benefits, gain character traits, etc., etc., etc. So that's really interesting. So I'm glad I heard that. So thank you, mystery fan, for sending me that very long email a month ago that I didn't see until tonight, and I do apologize for not responding to it, but it was very helpful and it inspired this stream, and I do appreciate it. I am falling asleep as I'm sitting here, so I'm gonna go to bed now, guys, because it's almost 3 a.m. as it turns out. But I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you for hanging out for a little late night stream and helping me to talk through some of these things and think about what HG Tudor had to say. And again, I really do hope he covers more of this stuff. That'd be pretty great. Yeah, that's all I got. No, they are. They are. They all are. They all are. They're all doing the same thing. We know this. This has already been established. This is I'm sorry, Jenny. I got to disagree with you. This is no longer in doubt. I have 2 years worth of evidence, more than 2 years worth now, that That's not something I need to prove anymore. Anyway, guys, good night. Thank you for hanging out. Please mount that like button on the way out the door. I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.